This video is sponsored by Factor. Back when visual effects and CGI were just starting to have the building blocks of what would eventually turn into the massive toolset used in the industry today, it all seemed like magic. Even if you didn't have it down perfectly, there was a lot of praise for the artist breaking ground in uncharted territory. But today, VFX seems harder to get right for audiences. There's a lot more competition, with almost every film having some sort of VFX or CGI component. This raises the bar of what you have to achieve in VFX, as audiences have been inundated with film after film chock full of visual effects, and they know how to spot elements that just don't look quite right. This leaves VFX artists with an almost impossible task. Either raise the bar to the level that James Cameron did with Avatar 2, create VFX that distracts the least from the story, or go completely over the top, out of this world in the visual style. And to make this even harder, deal with tight deadlines, last-second changes, and directors who maybe don't have a firm grasp on how the VFX pipeline works. Sometimes all of these things in combination can lead to amazing results, and other times they can lead to the worst VFX of the year.
Where is that?
Probably some f***ed up bioweapon, I'm sure.
For the first film that falls victim to our worst VFX list is Alien Romulus. This film, a return to the Alien franchise, was full of spectacular practical and digital effects throughout the film that played in harmony with each other. But in perhaps one of the most perplexing visual effects decisions of the year, we got this.
Then have mercy and end her life now. If not, you all die.
In a world that director Fede Alvarez painstakingly tried to do everything as practically as possible, this effect really sticks out like a sore thumb. When I first saw it in theaters, I thought this face was like some sort of a projection from inside, almost like how they do those at Disney. The reason they did this, of course, is because the actor who portrayed Ash in the original Alien film, Sir Ian Holm, died in 2020. Now, according to the director, they did achieve some of the effect with an animatronic. We knew we were going to create an animatronic, says Alvarez, and that later we were going to do CGI enhancements in the mouth and the eyes depending on the shots. Then the question arose, what face does it have and who is it? Now, the director claims that 80 to 90% of it was done by the puppeteers depending on the shot. They also utilized the same AI face replacement software that Tom Hanks' film Here used. That software is called Metaphysics Live, which to me worked better on Tom Hanks than in this film. To round all of this out, they would also use a voice actor whose voice was also augmented with AI to sound like Ian Holm, with the director mentioning that this all was, of course, the more expensive route to take. And while they did get the permission of the family to do this, it's just so jarring with the rest of the style and look of every other aspect in the film that it really reaches the point of being distracting. And with audiences used to seeing these animatronics created practically back to the first Alien movie, and of course even in Alien 3, where they bring back this character fully as a prosthetic to actually great effect, it's a surprising decision to see. Also, the ghost of Sir Ian Holmes keeps popping up everywhere throughout the movie on a screen. Again, feeling like you're on some sort of Disney ride. To me, it would have made way more sense, considering the storyline of the film, to bring back Michael Fassbender to play the role of David. In an otherwise great film, this one aspect of it was just a big miss. But you know what you shouldn't miss? Dinner. As an editor and a creative, I get kind of lost in that at times and lose track of time. Thanks to today's sponsor, Factor, they come to the rescue with the dietitian-approved meals that are super easy to make, instead of ordering the junk food that just sounds great late at night. What am I having for my late-night editing break? A filet mignon, of course. If you have a meal or two a day that you find difficult to plan for, like I do, mostly just, again, because I get distracted by editing, Factor can take the stress out of that part of your day with already prepared meals sent straight to your door with 35 different options to choose from per week. With Factor, it really is helpful to eliminate the prep time, cleanup, and bad food choices you inevitably make if you don't have something ready to eat. Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, who we have worked with in the past, and now you guys can enjoy both brands at a discount through this channel. Head to my link to get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders with the code FRAME50. Now, let's get back to some VFX.
Yes. I can see you.
What is there to say about a film that even the actors in the film could seem less interested in promoting?
You might have seen me in Anyone But You or Euphoria. You definitely did not see me in Madam Web.
Madam Web, which had such a bad reputation before it was even released that people went to see it just to be entertained by how bad it was, with the theaters themselves even noting significant waves of cancellations of pre-ordered tickets based on that bad press. This ending up on the worst VFX list shouldn't really be a surprise. And it's unsurprising even more based on the reports of problems on the production end, from sound mixing where the dubs don't even match their mouth movements and have all the energy of someone who just rolled out of bed.
Get in the back and charge the AED. For what? Just do it, go.
Terrible script writing, choppy editing, and CGI that looked about as inspired as anyone involved with this film seemed to be while making it. And of course, those awful digital zoom-ins.
Searching for that spider for years.
No, we could help so many people.
Not interested in helping people. No one helped me.
Let's be honest, only James Cameron can really pull this off right now, and even he's pushing it in Avatar at this point. It's hard to point to one specific effect in this film like we did with Alien, because it's just all over the place. From the CGI spider at the beginning of the film, character movements that were overly smooth on shaky shots, obvious green screens, and worst of all, the effects they used for the main character at the time made no sense, and at times annoyed viewers with the inconsistent blurring.
Caring what happens to either of us. So go back to the club, bear it all, and stalk the kind of people that you enjoy.
Fine.
Coming into the year, Megalopolis was an incredibly intriguing film, a self-funded passion project by legendary director Francis Ford Coppola, who, sure, was coming off of a decades-long rough patch of film releases in the new millennium, but it was still a mark-the-calendar film for many filmgoers. Until then, you started to hear about reports of Coppola firing his visual effects team and some odd on-set behavior that started to make it feel almost inevitable for it to be a very uneven film. One source supposedly close to the film said, his dig at us was always, I don't want to make a Marvel movie, but at the end of the day, that's what he ended up shooting. And while there were elements of the film that visually were well done, it's the over-reliance on green screen that really does this film in. The green screen really distracts you a lot, and it almost feels like it belongs back in the effects of the early 2000s. In some sense where like the Phantom Menace kind of looked cool back in the 2000s, this is kind of like what it feels like to me. Many compared these green screen comps to middle school projects edited in iMovie, or the most gaudy looking CG and green screen effects, and some questioning, has this guy ever made a movie before? It's confoundingly bad, especially because of the reported $120 million budget to make this film, and Coppola finishing it off with this bright orange grade that just makes the imperfections stick out even more, earning a place on this list. And for a film that the director had said he had been working on and thinking about doing almost his entire career, it's kind of sad to see, as we all like to see a final season from an athlete or a final painting from an artist to be something that stacks up to their best work. And in this case, this film was something. Let us know what you think about the film if you went and saw it.
Sending back up. What is the nature and number of the intruders?
There are shots fired. There are men down.
It's a woman, I'm telling you.
There's no denying that Zack Snyder has a knack for creating eye-popping visuals, but as we've discussed before, perhaps he has learned the wrong lesson from his breakout film in 300. Don't get me wrong, there are some absolutely gorgeous shots in Rebel Moon, and we've added those elements to our best VFX of 2024 video. But unfortunately, many elements that bring about those amazing VFX sequences are also some of what he leans into visually too much. Perhaps it has something to do with filming the entire film in an extreme aperture with incredibly shallow depth of field and the non-stop slow-mo that, while cool for shots like these, make zero sense for shots like this guy staring at water for a very long time. I guess the water's good in that universe. All in all, the main problem with the VFX in this film, to me, is that it made everything feel very closed in. This world doesn't really feel open. Could that come from the poorly rendered CGI elements that look overly artificial, or the ultra depth of field that almost has the effect of a tilt shift lens? I mean, maybe. One reviewer put it best when it said, Rebel Moon looked like it had been shot on a giant parking lot. And this carried over to even what I'm guessing are the real elements in the film. The actors, who at times you question if they too are digital in normal scenes. At one point in the director's R-rated cut, that is not much better, but just with nudity and more blood, I had to pause and go look up whether or not they digitally augmented aspects of the nudity itself, because everything looked digital, and if they did augment them, they were not very upfront about it. And perhaps it's just the digitalization of most of the entire scenes that has the effect of making the actual real components in it look digital as well. I really wanted to like this series and was really excited to see this ambitious of a project by Netflix, because I love sci-fi, but man, for many reasons, it's a very hard watch at times.
God's delivered you to me. You will be my instrument.
Last on this list is Gladiator 2, a sequel to a film that was very practically based and selectively used CGI and VFX to great effect. And while this time around they still create massive practical sets, Ridley Scott decided to use one of the most strange creatures for a film that's supposed to be grounded in a little bit of reality, I guess. I'm talking about the f***ing monkeys. Take a pause on that insane jawline of this doped up monkey ready to take a bite out of someone. This one, like the first alien Romulus, makes the odd decision to utilize heavy CGI in a film that has so much gritty practical effects and vibe overall that it's very jarring, and it got a lot of laughs in the opening night theater viewing that I attended. They almost look like demonic alien monkeys in their design, and I think maybe toning their design down a bit and at least attempting a pass at something a bit more grounded and realistic looking would have been way less jarring. And if it feels like I've picked on a lot of big budget movies, I have. They have the budgets and should have the time to fix a lot of these issues, but in some sense, we all make bad decisions, and there were ones like this one in Gladiator 2 that just make no sense within the context and the style of the film. Beyond these 5 VFX examples, we have some honorable mentions, of course. The Crow, Red One, Borderlands, Kraven the Hunter, and Argyle. All almost made the list, and some of them felt a little too easy to pick on. But let us know if you agree with us, or if you have another example of questionable VFX this year. And if you like this video, check out the rest of our Best of 2024 series videos right here.